Hi, I'm Trevor Fenton. I own Plain English Law, which is a commercial law firm in Dundee. Forthright. I would say forthright. Like, unlike here, you don't just go straight from high school into law school. A law degree is effectively a graduate degree. So if you're going to apply to law school, you practically speaking, you'll need a 4-year bachelor's degree in something, and they don't really care what your degree's in. So I was in high school and I was like, well, what am I gonna? I was planning to go to law school the whole time, right from when I was about 14. So it's just a question of what that undergrad degree was going to be. For whatever reason, good or bad, I was like, I like chemistry, I like math. Chemical engineering is kind of I liken it to being a chemist who works in 20,000 liter test tubes. So I did my engineering stuff. I worked for Michelin. I did some technical sales, like I sold boiler treatment, water treatment chemicals for a couple of years in British Columbia. I did some environmental engineering for a firm in Ontario, helping to design and start up wastewater treatment plants. And then I went to law school. I went into law school to save the world. I became known amongst my classmates, or some of them anyway, as the granola lawyer, because I took all the human rights based cases or courses. Basically, if there was a human rights course, I was probably going to take it. And partway through doing my degree, I started to realize the law can only do so much. People are going to behave the way they're going to behave, and there's only so much you can do about it. So you can't necessarily save the world through court cases. And also then I did my training at a firm in Ottawa that I did a lot of employment law work there, and it was great and involved some human rights. But I also got some exposure to a bit of business law, a bit of litigation, and a few other things. So that's one of the nice things about training, is that you do tend to get depending on where you train, you can get exposure to different practical areas. When I finished my training and moved from Ontario back to British Columbia, there I am going from being the granola lawyer who wouldn't go to a law school that insisted you took income tax. And now my first practice experience is with a highly specialized corporate tax practice. The jaws were on the floor. I loved the freedom that I once had, and I wanted it back. I didn't want to come up with a name that was naff. So, which is very easy. It is a good word, and it's a very easy thing to do, to come up with something naff when you're trying to be clever. So I struggled with it, and ultimately my business coach just said, "Oh, for God's sake, just put your name in the door." So I did, and it was called Fenton's Commercial Law initially. Went with that name it was only in February of 2021 that I changed the name to Plain English Law. And how I got there, of course, was actually partly because of the pandemic, because of all those Zoom calls. Because of all those Zoom networking calls, where you're in a Zoom call with 20, 30, 40, sometimes 100 people. You see a lot of faces on the screen. And the one thing I saw people really reacted to, physically reacted to, was when I talked about legalese, getting rid of the legalese, and doing things in plain English. So when I saw that, and it was over and over and over again, I saw people smiling, nodding their head snapping up when I talked about plain English. I said, the market's telling me something here. And to my great surprise, I found that I could get the domain names plainenglish.law, plainenglishlaw.co.uk, plainenglishlaw.ca for the Canadian market. The only one I couldn't get was .com, because that's a lawyer in Pennsylvania. Bless her, she's had that name since about 1996. But what was astonishing to me was, here's the number one complaint, and almost no law firms are picking up on this, and none are trying to do anything about it. So it seems like an odd thing that it took 2 years for me to go, how do I describe a law firm that does nothing, does everything in plain English? What am I going to name this thing? It's amazing I struggled 2 years to call it Plain English Law, but once I came up with it, I was like, geez, is it really as simple as that? Sure enough. And the field was open. Like nobody else is occupying that space. Find a mentor. I was fortunate enough that my mentor was within the business I was working in already. And so, I learned tons just from that would have taken me years and would have cost an awful lot of money. I probably would have wasted a lot of money on things just because I didn't know what to do. And I managed to short circuit that process by having a good mentor. Expansion's definitely the objective. I mean, because I'm qualified in Scotland and England and British Columbia, that gives some options, for for where I seek clients, and for what kind of client I can serve. My mom always told me, don't turn your nose up at it until you try it. And I think that applies in your career as well. So one of the reasons I joined that firm in Canada was because they gave me the freedom. Like, it wasn't a salaried job. It was a position in which if I did work on a file, I would get a percentage of the fee that came into the firm. So what it meant is you could have a lot of the benefits of being in business for yourself, but here was the big thing: you didn't have to run the business. So I didn't have to do the accounting. I didn't have to do the any of the compliance stuff with the Law Society, because I was totally uninterested in all of that. And so it was delightful to me that what I could do was just do the work for the clients. When the firm got paid, I'd issue the firm an invoice. That was the only paperwork I had to do. I got paid. Done. It was great. Then the partner who was running all of that, doing all that administrative stuff, decided to leave the firm. And it was quite a small firm. The remaining partner wasn't particularly interested in doing this work either. Like, it just wasn't where his passion was. He wanted to be out there building the business, pulling in new clients, doing the work. So it actually felt to me, suddenly it was like, really our only option is I'm going to have to get into this. I'm going to have to learn how this works. I didn't even know what dual entry accounting meant. Okay, I had never heard the term before. Someone said it to me. I was like, oh yeah, that's how this works? And I had to just start doing some research. I Googled it. Wikipedia. Boy, if you don't donate money to the you should donate money to Wikipedia, because I swear, especially lawyers, Wikipedia it's not, you can't rely on it as authoritative, but boy, it's a great starting point for almost any topic I can think of. It at least tells you where to look, right? So I had to learn accounting, basic accounting and bookkeeping from scratch. Never done anything of the sort. Had never been interested in it. Had avoided it strenuously. And I found that actually the financial management and planning of a company was far more entertaining than I had ever imagined it could be. I had more fun running that law firm than I'd had probably at any point in my professional career to that point. So this granola lawyer who didn't want anything to do with business is suddenly going, this is a lot of fun. I do a lot of golf. I used to run a lot. I'm running less now, partly because of some Corona kilos. It's just not as much fun to run when you're jiggling more. And I realized that the one would solve the other, but still, yeah. I mean, I ran for years. I did a few marathons, and I've just kind of I've moved on to golf. I think golf was a very important part of maintaining my mental health through the lockdown. It was one of the few social activities you could still engage in. There were still restrictions, but yeah, it made a big difference to a lot of us.